I wanted to speak with you today about living our strengths, claiming our strengths, daring to possess our strengths, and allowing ourselves to be the embodiment of our strengths, which is quite a daring proposition. And I think it's one that's best found through the processes of experiment. And it seems to me rather wonderful that we had some readings and teachings today which tell us this exact same thing from thousands of years ago, because it is very much a 21st century concern, and I think a very healthy one, that we should find things out for ourselves, that we are open to the receiving of wisdom, but that there is within us all an inner teacher, and that we can also learn from our own experiences, from our good experiences, and maybe from our difficult ones. Of course, if you find living your strengths easy, and if you live in a state of mind which is fairly unfailingly peaceful, then I invite you to have a little snooze, because this talk is really for the rest of us who don't find it easy. In fact, who find it very difficult. Perhaps sometimes we don't think we're worthy of these strengths. And yet, the fact is, we don't have to be worthy of them. That is one of their marvelous markers, that we don't have to be worthy of them. We only have to remember them, to find, to experience that they have never, never forgotten us. But most of us discover this only when our favourite strategies have failed us. We very rarely discover it when things are going well, and we're more or less getting our own way. We discover it when we are almost literally brought to our knees. I've often spoken to you about, and I've written about, the need we have for those life-giving qualities. I've also spoken to you about and written about the need those qualities have for us. And some of our readings have pointed to this today also. I am the vine, you are the branches. I have no body. This is my godly body. We are, in other words, the only chance that these qualities have to manifest, to come to life, to grow in reality and power and effect. Otherwise, they are just lovely ideas. Living them, we discover them. Coming into their presence, they create a different sense of presence in us. And this is no small thing. Sometimes it is literally life-saving, as Colin pointed to in his reflection. Sometimes it is literally the difference between feeling that this life is worth living or truly it is not. A death that may not be physical, but can be psychological or spiritual. It's also life-saving for our immediate and wider world. Our world also is in need of these spiritual strengths. Coming into their presence, allowing their presence to change us, to change the way we think, and most of all to change the way we act. The inward and outward shift of spirituality happens. And this doesn't depend on dogma. It doesn't depend on belief. It doesn't depend on gender or culture or religion or whatever divisive label you can think of. It depends only on a willingness to say, I am open to the movement of love. I am open to the power of love and to the very different ways in which it needs to manifest in different situations. In the accounts of all the greatest, the most tender, the most convincing, the most compelling of spiritual teachers, including Jesus, but not exclusive to Jesus, we witness again and again that these messages of inclusion and of love went first to the people on the margins, went first to the wounded, went first to those who had already experienced in some profound way their own sense of insufficiency. And this is not by chance, I think. Again, it's perhaps because when things are going really well, when we feel that we are in charge, when we feel that we know the answers, when we feel we have the solutions, why would we need to call on these strengths that will serve us, not only in the particular situation in which we find ourselves, but will also serve us in connecting and reconnecting us to the human family, because it's when we understand the unity of what we need that we begin to perceive in some truthful way the unity also of existence. Isn't it only when we are lost for words, lost for solutions, divorced from our usual coping strategies, that we identify what we need and we call on it, even when we have maybe very little hope that it will serve us in this time. But just the calling on it already lifts our spirits. In each situation in your life, I don't know exactly which strength you will need, but you do. It could be hope. It could be courage. It could be affirmation. It could be acceptance. It could be kindness. It could be fortitude. It could be tolerance. It could be forgiveness. I don't know which strength you need in any particular situation, but your inner teacher does, and you do. I don't know either exactly how this strength will come to life in your imagination, in your envisioning how you should go on. But I do know that with patience and with a little silent reflection, you will discover that. And again, I also know that these strengths do not depend upon your deserving them. They do not need you to have spent the last decades of your life in faithful practice of meditation or of prayer or of reflection. Again, they only require that you call on them and allow them to call on you. This might bring, for example, greater kindness to your own self. This is a strength that I see again and again so many of us need. Greater understanding of a loved one's difficult choices that you find very hard to agree with, and yet at some level you are called to respect. Forgiveness perhaps of an ancient hurt. Inclusion of someone who seems so very different from yourself until you reflect on the needs they also have, and on the strengths you long to share with them. Maybe it's the strength of generosity of time, or of spirit, or active support to people or causes whose fate has come to matter to you. There are so many ways in which these strengths are called for, by us individually and by us as a human family collectively. And if we are able to contribute, and we are able to contribute, as it said on that card that Colin read, you are powerful, you can contribute, however humbly, however inadequately. Of course you will contribute inadequately. We are living a human journey, learning as we go. Of course it will be inadequate. And in fact, one of the obstacles to this kind of discovery is often a kind of utterly false perfectionism. If I can't be 100% forgiving, should I even try my paltry little 3 or 4%? If I can't be 100% tolerant, should I silence an unkind word? If I can't be quite as kind as the Dalai Lama, should I bother at all? I think you should bother again and again and again.